Here. Today we're doing a gear review of the AeroPress. It's what I've found to be the best way to make coffee while camping. And just how good is it? Well, before I buy anything, I tend to do a lot of reviews. And so I was doing an internet query for best ways to make coffee while camping, and the AeroPress came up. And a couple of things struck me was, in the reviews I read, the person said that they bought this to go camping, and in another review, I was just searching for this, reading reviews, a person bought this to make coffee in their office so they had a decent way to make coffee at work. And in both cases, those people wrote that this turned into the way that they made coffee at home, not just, you know, for the intended purpose like camping. And that's exactly what happened with me. This is what I use to make a cup of coffee in the morning. So let's show you what it's all about, show you how it works. So first off, this is the AeroPress, and it's a little plastic cylinder with a plunger with a rubber end on it and a little stop on one end that you place a filter into, and that goes on here, and you add your coffee, and it comes with a little stir that goes in there but stops it before it actually hits the bottom. And it also comes with a scoop to measure out coffee, which I can't seem to find, so I'm going to be using a different one for the purposes of this video. Now, typically, we wet the, you're supposed to wet the seal on this for a little lubricant when you push it through, and even then it's still kind of tight, but that's how it's supposed to be. You know, normally when I'm done with this in the morning, I put it on the rack after cleaning it and leave it just like this. So when I go to get it the next day, I wet it down at the sink in the case of when I'm making coffee in the morning, but you know, you'd be doing this with whatever water you had available, clean water hopefully, if you were trying to make coffee. And then pull that out, get a new filter in your basket, and get that ready, and set that right on top of your coffee cup. So before I talk too much more about this, let's start ourselves a fire to get some water boiling. Yes, you can see that. I've just got a little small alcohol camping stove right now. What we're going to be setting the pot on is actually the top from a different stove, the top of a wood burning stove that maybe I'll do a review on in a later video. And of course, it's an alcohol fire, so we can't see it's going, but it is going. And I decided I'm not going to use hose water. I don't know how my cup of coffee is going to end up tasting, so I brought some water out from the house. So now that we got that going, and I don't know if you can hear it, but I can hear it working in there. We'll talk a little bit more about the AeroPress. So, you add coffee in here up to the number 1 on the side here, and there's instructions with it. So these are instructions that I'm remembering from several years back. So you're going to want to check the instructions if you decide to buy an AeroPress. But you add coffee up to the number 1, and when you have water at approximately 170 degrees, you then add water up to the number 2. And when you're doing this right on your top of your cup that you're going to be using as a cup of coffee. And with the stir stick, just bring that camera up a little bit. With the stir stick, you go around to the count of 10. You can count to yourself if you need to. And bring the plunger in, which out here it's already dry already. And come in with the plunger and just slowly apply pressure and push that water through. And you want a really slow count. You want it to take, you know, 15-20 seconds. And even once I've got all the water pushed through there, I tend to just keep slowly applying pressure, because you'll get like a nice golden foam that'll come into the coffee in your cup when everything goes right. Certainly not all the time, but and I believe that adds flavor. It always seems like when you get that, you get the best cup of coffee, and this is really one of the better just plain cups of black coffee that you're gonna have. And there's a lot of ways to make coffee out there. I've owned French presses and all other kinds of sorts of ways to make coffee, and this is one of the best just cups of black coffee I've ever had. So now, one of the drawbacks of the AeroPress is that you need a way to know your water temperature, because you don't want, with other ways you just boil water and pour it in there, and that's not the best way. So I always use a digital thermometer when I'm making coffee with the AeroPress. And so you need a way to be able to check it, because you want it right about 170. If I remember right, the instructions said something like possibly 180 for a real light coffee, but I always just try to shoot for 170. If you get a little inattentive, then you may not have it at that temperature. But usually by the time you're done getting ready with everything else, if you start your water right away, that'll be set almost by the time you're done. At least when I'm in the house using a tea kettle. I don't know about with this alcohol burner with the wind blowing through here and everything. So, you've got your coffee cup, you've got your AeroPress. I don't have the scoop, but I have a scoop, and I'm just going to do a nice big healthy heaping scoop. Drop that in there and shake that around so it's level. I'm sure you can hear that flame being blown around by the wind here on the camera. And it is getting warmer, but not quick enough for me, so I'm going to put a lid on this to help that out, and we'll be back when our water's up to temperature. So, our water is up to temperature. Before I pour that in, I'm going to wet down my plunger again because it's had time to dry off. We're going to add water here. Try to get it at an angle that you can see. We're going to add water here, like I said, until we get to the 2. And we stir for a few seconds here. I just usually do it until the count of 10. And take our plunger and slowly push the water through the grounds, and there's a little bit of pressure that's built up in there, and you can start to hear it making air sound as it pushes all the water through, and you're just pushing everything else through. And yeah, here's a big clump of golden foam, almost like you get on an espresso when you're done. Now, when I'm in the house, I do this over the trash bin, but then you just take this off. There's your filter there. Push the plunger the rest of the way, and that falls into your trash bin, or if you're camping, the fire pit or whatever. And I immediately go to the sink, rinse that, and that's really all that takes to clean. You could rinse that, rinse this, and that's it. Cleanup is done. That's what's another thing that's so great about this system is cleanup is so fast. And then I throw that in the dish rack until it dries, and then I put it away for the day. And then you take your water and fill your cup the rest of the way, and there you have it. A nice cup of coffee while you're out camping. Now, that honestly took longer here with that little alcohol stove than it does like in the house with a tea kettle on the range top. I actually had time to go around and pick up some of the stuff that I didn't need anymore for the video and put that away. I think when you're out camping and I don't know, if you're like me, you're up with the sun whenever you're sleeping outdoors, whether you're in a tent or a hammock or on the ground. I'm always up as soon as the sun's up, and it's a nice relaxing time of the day, and you don't seem to notice that that thing took a long time to heat the water up to 170 degrees, which goes a lot quicker than it takes to boil water. So when you're using it in the house in the morning, it seems like it takes no time at all. Here in the afternoon, when I'd like to record several more videos today, I guess I was a little impatient. But when you're out camping, it's nice and relaxing, and at the end of it, you get the reward of a delicious hot cup of coffee. Even out here when it's kind of hot here in the afternoon, this is still just great, and I'm going to enjoy this, and we'll see you back next time with Master and None. Be sure to like, subscribe, tell your friends, and have a good day.